Good evening, everybody. It's David Wildstein at the New Jersey Globe. This is a special pre-election issue of Stomping Grounds. We thought we would do it in person instead of in writing. Guys, your column has been growing like gangbusters since you started it, and really, really can't thank you enough for answering my questions every week. So this will be, I guess, the last question of the 25 campaign, unless it doesn't end tomorrow. And you guys are much younger than me, but I remember a gubernatorial race in '81 that they didn't declare the winner until Thanksgiving. So
Wow.
You never know. You really never know. It was tough.
David, I remember one in 21 that took a day.
Yeah. I remember you on the way home from that telling me, it'll take a day, but we're fine. You were sort of calling it that night. So
I was right.
I guess you were. So let me start. Dan, let me start with you. So rather than you tell me that Mike is going to win, to follow up with Alex telling me that Jack is going to win, Dan, tell me what Jack needs to do tomorrow to win. Where does he need to overperform? What's he looking at? Obviously, Alex, you're going to get a head start because you're going to get the same question.
I think he's going to need one of those monkey paws, Derek, David, that grant you the wishes. You get 3 wishes. Listen, he has a very, very tough road ahead of him tomorrow. He is down on the early vote by 290,000 as we sit here today. It'll likely be over 300,000 when we add in the early vote by mail tomorrow. The Democrats have improved in early in-person voting compared to last year, the percentages. So things look very good. Listen, if you wanted to write out how would Jack Ciattarelli win this race, he would have to do historic numbers with unaffiliated and independents and outperform his polling to a historic extent, not only with the electorate, but with moderates, especially, and independents. He would need massive, massive turnout from places like Ocean and Monmouth, where he got in 21, when, remember, we had a Democratic president and Democratic Congress, and whose numbers were all in the tank, and we saw some energy out of there. Now he's got a Republican president whose numbers are in the tank. He's got a Republican Congress whose numbers are in the tank. We're in the middle of a shutdown. The economy's not great. People just lost their SNAP benefits. He would need to overperform to an extent, I think, that we have not seen in our lifetime for him to win tomorrow. It looks to me right now, as we sit here tonight, that Mikey Sherrill is in very, very good shape.
Alex, what does Mikey Sherrill need to do to win?
I think Dan already just answered all the questions. No, look. Obviously, this is still a state where Democrats maintain an incredible voter registration advantage. All of the institutional markings of support, organized labor. You have just these counting machines that are able to turn out voters like you see in almost nowhere else in the country. So, by no means am I Pollyannish about my thinking about this race. So I mean, like, in terms of a Mikey Sherrill victory, I think that it's a very, for her, it's a straightforward combination of all of the Democratic regular markers gelling together and sticking together, which is, that she's getting the strong support from labor. She's getting the strong support from minorities. She's getting strong support from urban centers. And look, I think that there is a little bit of it's been driving me a little bit crazy, and maybe I seem like a little bit of a troglodyte when I say this, but we did this last year in 2024, not at the New Jersey state level, but nationally, where we looked at some of these like supposed firewalls in places like Pennsylvania, for example, and we said, oh my gosh, like Donald Trump, he could never overcome like this number, like, and it's getting so particular. It's like this town voted in like this election like this, so therefore it's going to be like this. Like, I can't even follow some of these like threads anymore about like, and like I want to be like a doomer about things, because that's just like my like natural like way of thinking, because I always want to run like I'm behind, and I'm a New Jersey Republican, so I usually am. So like, so believe me, I'm looking, I'm like, where's like, I want like I want the hard evidence that this is the case. And what I see is that there's like a little bit of like, there's a little bit of wizardry with the numbers. Like, that didn't seem to work out entirely last time how everyone said it was going to, just generally speaking. We also have in New Jersey a bit of a disadvantage in this election in that, like, it's not that we have just apples to oranges to compare to. We have a whole produce section. Like, where do you start? Do you compare 2025 to 2021, where like early voting, I mean, maybe like 9 people showed up at a polling place? I really love when I read like national reporters being like, wow, like, so and so is like overperformed relative to 2021. I'm like, yeah, because like, like nobody knew it existed. Um, do you compare it to 2023? Of course not. Like, there was no governor at the top of the ballot. Do you compare it to last year? No, it's not a presidential race. Like, I don't really know where we like compare 2025 to, but it's not to any of the previous races. So like, people will compare further or future races to 2025. That will be a good like apples to apples comparison. But like right now, we just have none of that, and it's frustrating for all of us. So, um, look, I do think that there are signs that the soft factors, right? Like, if you think of New Jersey Democrats as having all those hard factors, right? Like, the soft factors are very much things that are in Jack's favor. You have in all of the polls, even the ones that have him down, you have unaffiliated and undecideds breaking for Jack. You have massive crowds showing up for Jack. And I'm not just saying that based on like someone who's like scrolling through X at home. Like, I'm someone like who's like just showing up randomly, like like unannounced, like just like to see what's up, or to take my kids and like just like, I don't know, get them ice cream or whatever. And like, it
Yeah.
is legitimately not the rubber chicken dinner circuit that is showing up at these rallies, and it's people I have never seen before. It's like it's a diverse crowd. And I don't know that there's a way to quantify that kind of energy. So like, look, like maybe tomorrow or on Wednesday, everybody's going to be laughing at me and saying like, oh, there's Alex, like with like all of her like mushy factors that like didn't work out in her favor. But like, hasn't that
Or,
been the
or
story
you
for like
sound
the
very
last decade of our politics?
So let me two of the things that I've been looking at and see, Dan, tell me where you are on each of these. One is I'm looking at whether Democrats have built the infrastructure to turn out urban areas. And on Republicans, I'm looking at whether the turnout among Orthodox Jews, not just Lakewood, but Englewood, Teaneck, the city of Passaic, West Orange, Livingston, Linden, is that going to fulfill sort of the hype, or is it going to fall short?
So I'll take that, David. By the best advice you can give a political candidate is don't answer the question you got, answer the one you wanted. So I'm going to answer the one I wanted there. The best thing they've done in terms of building infrastructure is getting people to embrace vote by mail, right? So especially, so we look at the I did my homework tonight. That's how seriously I took this, David. I want you to know that. If you look at low propensity voters, Democrats are outpacing at least 2-1, if not more, low propensity voters, 0, 1, or 2 of 4. They're outpacing the Republicans right now more than 2-1. A lot of that is vote by mail, right? I mean, it is so much easier. We see, obviously, we always see the biggest turnout in a presidential election. So there's a lot of people that vote for president. Maybe they'll vote for Congress and they kind of sit out local or state. Getting an automatic vote by mail, and you can vote from your house and you can just drop it off in the mailbox. You don't have to arrange childcare on election day and things like that. It has changed the way that we do elections in the States. It's changed the way that we do elections throughout the country, right? It is an incredible way to get people to embrace democracy and make sure that they're coming out and voting in every single election. So we are seeing Democrats really embrace vote by mail. Republicans, to an extent, are starting to embrace early in-person voting. They have for the last few cycles, but not to the same extent, right? Democrats have really embraced vote by mail. I think one of the things, to state the obvious, that has hampered Republicans embracing that has been Donald Trump coming out and calling it corrupt and things like that, because they don't usually vote for him. Although, Alex, I'll give you a shout out. You have been long on the trail to try to get Republicans to embrace vote by mail, but so far they're listening to the president and not you, and I think that's wrong. I want you to know that.
They listened to him last cycle.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
this is like the best voting infrastructure I think that the Democratic Party has done is reach out to their voters and try to get them to be automatic vote by mail voters. It's been very successful. We see these numbers high. And Alex, of course, you're right. Like, we don't exactly know what a firewall is. That said, would you rather be up by 290,000 votes on election day? Of course you would, right? And we saw a Democratic firewall in 2021 of, I think, 265,000, able to carry Governor Murphy through a worst case scenario election day. Governor Sherrill's going to have a bigger one now. So, David, is the urban infrastructure in a very different place than it was in the last decade? I'm not sure. I know that Leroy Jones cares deeply about it all throughout the state, and we have lots of great county chairs that care about it and work really hard at it. The biggest infrastructure improvement the Democratic Party has made over the past few years has been the embrace of the automatic vote by mail, and it has led to, so far, a string of successes that have been fairly historic.
Alex, you agree with him?
Well, of course. I mean, look, Democrats have been able to embrace pre-election day voting in a way that has benefited them enormously, and a lot of it lends itself to the kind of the way that Democrats like think. It's very like top down. It's very organizational heavy, right? Kind of machinery to be able to like, because like look, like it's not like a very straightforward thing to like apply, then like properly return a vote by mail ballot, right? Like you do need a machinery in place to be able to be like okay, like like this union's gonna get together and we're all gonna like fill out our ballots together, and we're gonna like, I'm gonna make sure that we're gonna have someone at the front of the room that's telling you how to do it and how to do it right, and then we're gonna put them all in the box together. Like that's like that very much lends itself to the way that the Democrats operate here in the state, and just generally speaking. I mean, I look, I think that Republicans have much more so embraced the early voting, early in-person voting, than they have in the past. A lot of people found it to be convenient, and especially a lot of like our very reliable voters, right? Like our seniors, for example, like they love to do stuff on like Tuesday afternoons. So like that's a great thing for them. What I will say is like, look, I have talked. I mean, and again, I'm not sitting up here in an ivory tower. I'm actually like knocking on doors and making phone calls for Jack and for a number of these campaigns, like just because that's like what I feel like I can do. And I mean, people are telling me, they're like, I respect you. Like, thank you so much for calling me. I really appreciate it. I am gonna vote on election day, but I do not. I'm not voting early, and like I like kind of like hope that like you'll like respect that decision. And it's like what are you supposed to say to that? Like, are you supposed to say like no, like get there now? Like, I mean, there is a tradition with Republicans who do like the way things were. Now of course we would rather have that vote banked in case of like a freak storm, or some kind of like personal issue that comes up. But like we as Republicans, we don't operate the same way as Democrats. We just don't. Like there is like much more of like a cultural like significance on like individuality and like doing things the way we want to do them. Like so like I think, yeah, so that's frustrating, but like it's also core to who we are. So I don't really know how to like, I can't like change that without changing how we actually like, think about the world.
And you two know this, but I'll just build on one thing that Alex said there too. Like, one of the things that is beneficial about voting early is it allows the campaign to focus solely on who is left, right? Like, our voter file shows you a lot of information. It shows you who's voted. So you can eliminate, if you want people to stop knocking on your doors, you want to stop getting phone calls, vote. You get your vote in, they will leave you alone. They want to cut you out of the voter file. They want to focus on everyone else that's left there. So it allows Democrats also to run a far more efficient election day operation when they have right now almost a million, just under a million votes are already in hand for Democrats.
You say this, and it just I have.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm gonna. That's totally wrong. 660,000, not under a million.
Go back to the Sherrill campaign talking points. You want to share the screen? Is that?
No. These are all my notes. These are on paper.
I'm just joking with you. I'm just joking. So one of the things that the Globe reported a little while ago is that Bob Menendez, now a resident of the state of Pennsylvania, got a vote by mail ballot because he's on automatic. So what happened? So according to the Democratic system, the van, he is listed as a high propensity voter with a 96% likelihood of voting in tomorrow's election. I don't think he's going to vote in tomorrow's election. Are you telling me that people are calling him? They're knocking on his door, trying to turn him out? Is that what's happening?
I have
It's
no
not a
idea.
serious question, Dan. You don't have to
Can
really.
I ask you a silly question?
I
Is he
think I
allowed to
think
vote?
Dan is actually going out there to recruit him.
He's
Absolutely. Listen,
no, he's not allowed to. But the Bergen County Clerk's office still sent him the ballot. So and he's still in the system as a registered voter. He hasn't been purged yet. So, just one of the things that I'm curious about is, are these canvassers, the labor unions, the volunteers, are they, it's Englewood Cliffs. Here's a guy, if he votes, he's going to vote Democratic. He's voted in every Democratic primary since the early 1970s. It would seem to me, I'm going way off on a tangent here, I get it. But it would seem to me like people are probably ringing Nadine's doorbell all day long.
my bet is he's gotten at least one a door hanger.
Yeah,
that's my bet. Yeah.
So one of the, I want to ask you too about the polls. We've seen this avalanche of polls since Thursday. Some obviously better than others. I saw one over the weekend that had, and Alex, I don't say this is any disrespect to your candidate, but I don't believe he's running. Jack Chittarelli's running 20 points ahead of Cheryl among Black voters. So what do we make of these polls? How much reliance have you guys as strategists had in these independent polls that are popping up?
Alex,
that one thrown to me, or okay?
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, look, I think that first of all, I'll say with respect to the Atlas Intel poll that there are a number of polls, not just Atlas Intel, that show movement among minority voters that is consistent with what we're seeing on the ground. We're seeing with just the outreach that Jack has done over the last 4 years, outreach that, quite frankly, like Mikey Sherrill has been pretty abysmal in, or has not been as effective in. Like when she shows up, it feels kind of awkward. When Jack shows up, it feels real. So I think that has to count for something. Like I think that, like, you might, there in every poll there's always like a little, there's always a quirk, right, that you can't necessarily explain, but you put the poll out anyway because that's, I mean, if you're the practitioner, that's what you do. I mean, this is the anniversary of the Iowa poll, so like, from last year that had Donald Trump losing Iowa. So, credit to pollsters, they're they put a lot on the line when they release these numbers. But I mean, I would just say for that one particular number, there's been movement, I think, in minority communities consistent with what we've been seeing on the ground and in private polling and that kind of thing. So the independent, I mean, the independent polling is tough because I think that there's still a feeling among Republicans, especially, that like the polls just they keep just kind of missing it a little bit. Like, and especially, I mean, this really hurts, like coming from someone who was very involved in 2021, where, I mean, going like sitting on that Monday night before the election in 2021, we all said to ourselves, we think we could win tomorrow, but the polls say we're down 11. Right? Like, so, like, I mean, like, think about the mental leap you kind of have to go, like the amount of hope you have to have, the just like the gut feeling, like again, all of those soft factors that like you can't really quantify, but like you just kind of feel are there. You hear these like anecdotes coming from people, and you're just like, I want to, like, I want to invest all my hopes and dreams in these hard numbers, but like there's stuff I'm hearing that I can't really ignore. It's tough. And like, look, what I would say that, is, I think more advisable for our campaigns to be doing is to just be investing in high quality professional polling on our end throughout the cycle, so that way we're not doing all this guesswork at the end based on, like, the whims of like Rutgers Eagleton or whoever else like wants to come out with a crazy number.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm sure I could speak for Alex here. Like when you're in a campaign, you're looking at your internal polling and you care deeply about your internal polling and what it's telling you. You look at external polling because you know the press is going to write on it. And that's kind of it. You're not really looking at external polling and changing your strategy and worrying about whether it's right or wrong. You're just looking at it because you know the media is going to cover it. That's
Yeah.
kind of it, right? Listen, the polling misses both ways. We always tend to, I don't know why this is, but we tend to remember the 2016s and the 2021s, and we're forgetting the 22s and the 23s where they've missed the other way, and many other cycles where they've missed the other way. So listen, the best thing you can really do is just average it out. The 21 average was, I think, 6.5. Real Clear Politics had it at 6.5. We ended up at 3.5. Like that's a miss, but it's not a massive miss. This average is somewhere around the same, somewhere around 5 or 6. So, you know, you can't, if you're someone like me and Alex and you're kind of like a pundit, though, as much as I hate that word, I can't go out there and say, look at this poll that came out today, by the way, just about an hour ago, that has Mikey up 12, but ignore the one that has her up 1. It's hard for me to maintain credibility like that, right? So what you can do is you look at all of the polling, you can have your favorites and the ones you care about and the ones you don't care about. But as a campaign, if I was working on the Cheryl campaign, I really wouldn't be looking at any of these public pollings. We'd be looking at our internal polling. That is what we would care about, what we're saying, what we're doing, where we're moving our resources. And you're just looking at these other ones because you know that's what's going to be written on.
Well, and I'll just put this out there as a Republican. I think when you have these misses in polls by double digits, what we worry about is a suppressive effect that just causes,
Right.
especially when you have a very limited press in this state that's just like News 12 is just gonna like run that over and over and over again every hour. Like like okay, like yeah, like Dan's saying, like if you do have a childcare situation at home, a sick parent, you have work, you have all of these issues going on election day. Like if you think your candidate's gonna get blown out by 11 points, like what's the use of showing up? So like, in some ways, like was 21 a miss because all of us like thought that Jack could have overcome an 11-point lead? No, I think it would have been more if people had actually been told like the correct information about like where he actually was. And I think that's something that concerns us deeply, just like Dan saying, it's a public matter, not necessarily a strategic one.
Well, look, I don't want to, keep going at it, but it's a lose-lose for both sides because, in 21, bad polling negatively affected Chitterelli's fundraising, but it also drew Democrats into some complacency. I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to, embarrass certain Kansas state representatives who the Sunday before the election, they went out for brunch and then started canvassing because they were relying on this double-digit lead that wasn't there.
Right.
So it does. It hurts you both.
Yeah, it could hurt you both ways. Listen, I think like one of the issues I've had with the press over the last decade is the way that they cover polling is just like there is very little. It's not that they don't know. It's just that they take it, they pick some numbers and they throw it out there. I don't know what to do about polling, especially since we know it's less accurate than it's ever been. And it can lead to narratives that are good or bad for both sides. I don't really know what to do about it. I think the public cares less about polling than they ever have. I think they trust polling less than they ever have. And that might not be a bad thing because to Alex's point, and David, to your point, you shouldn't be sitting at home saying, hey, my guy's up 12. I don't have to worry about it. Or my guy's down 12. I don't have, forget it. I'm just going to stay home. Like everyone should be in every single election, make your voice heard no matter what, no matter what the polling says.
Well, and I'll tell you, a lot of us in politics lead sort of these double lives. We have our political friends, and then we have our normal life. The people who don't know who the assistant minority whip of the state assembly is, and we're all talking about this. But I have to tell you, the people that I talk to in New Jersey that are not overly political, they never bring up the polling to me. It's like they're just not at all aware of it. And we're all living in this bubble too. And any of the people that are watching it tonight, they're also in our bubble and are consuming all this information. But let me ask you, because I don't want to keep you too long. So you guys have a long day tomorrow. I've been doing, and I'm sure you you two have also. I've been doing a lot of calls over the last couple of weeks with national press, sort of just backgrounders on New Jersey. And one of the things that seems to surprise people is that, the description of New Jersey as a 9.5 million person news desert, that we don't have our own network television. We're getting, you have people in North Jersey are hearing more about, the mayor's race and people than they are the governor's race. In Philadelphia, you're hearing more about a district attorney race than you are a governor's race. The print newspapers are gone. The state's losing NJPBS in July. How's that affected even as compared to 21 or 17? How has the fact that the race just isn't getting the number of eyeballs it used to affecting how voters make their decision?
I'll take that one first. It's tragic. It's absolutely tragic. I mean, anyone that I've spoken to about this topic over the last 5 to 10 years knows that it is a pet peeve of mine, the amount of media that we have in the state. It's funny, you go up to a state like Vermont, which is, I think, 600 or 700,000 people total to our 9.5 million. They have their own public radio network. They have their own TV stations. They have their own weeklies. All these little communities have their own newspapers. And we have nothing here. I mean, I don't want to say nothing because there's still a lot of good, hardworking journalists, like your, present company included, that are doing their best to cover this state. But is it proportionate? Absolutely not. It is a sin how little press coverage we have in this state. And I want to frame this positively, and hopefully this gets to the ears of someone that cares about this. There is no bigger opportunity in American media than the New Jersey news desert right now. If someone comes in with a little bit of a pocketbook that can lay out for a real operation that could come in here, cover things, investigative, opinion, lifestyle, all that kind of stuff, it is there for the taking. I hope someone's smart enough to do it.
I agree with Dan, although I'm shocked to hear that the New Jersey Independent is not just this the source that's just blowing up here, cited in all the ads. But look, on the one hand, as a Republican, like, you just expect the press to just like come out and knife you. So on there's like the fact that there isn't any here, or the existing press, like the legacy media that has been here, like, you just kind of like rolled your eyes and like waited to get just like punched in the head and like then moved on from it. Whereas I think that it's like it hasn't been a big loss to us because the press usually isn't on our side, isn't our friends. Where I will say, and by the way, that is not me discouraging someone from coming in and actually providing hard news coverage to the state, because we deserve it. I mean, I live in Bergen County. We have almost a million people here. Like, there's I can't, you can't find out why there was what the status of a school board meeting was somewhere, or an accident on 17. Like you're basically relying on these pop-up news accounts on Instagram and on X, to provide that information, and God bless them for it, because that's all we have. That's all we have. Now I will say that I think there was something really powerful about, and look, I get it, people have different opinions about him, but I think it's undeniable that when Elon Musk said, "You are the media now," on X, basically, we are we are a platform for everyone who wants to put something out there. That has been really powerful, I think, in terms of Jack being able to connect with a lot of Republican, voters around the country, people who want to care about something. They want to care about, okay, how do we keep our momentum going into the midterms? Social media has been that lifeline. Now, of course, you're not going to get the same editorial standards, even if I disagree with them from time to time at different places. But it is, I mean, it's just undeniable. Like, the fact that somebody can just start up an Instagram account that covers like traffic incidents like near my house, it's like, oh wow, that's like actually like that actually like changes like my day to day and like helps me. I'm not even talking about political news. Like I'm talking about just like something real, right? We don't have that, we wouldn't have had that ability, I think, without the strong stand that Elon took over at X and taking that platform in the direction that he did. So I think that like until we get some media here, like we need to keep kind of putting out our own videos, our own stories, our own, photos, because no one's going to do that for us.
So before we go, not including the governor's race, each of you give me two races that you're watching tomorrow night, not because they're clients, but because you don't know who's going to win. Dan, I'll start with you.
Listen, I'm of course going to start with my personal politics here. I'm watching the Hoboken mayor's race. Spent some of the best years of my political career in Hoboken. Had a lot of fun there. It's actually with my former boss on Wednesday night, having a blast, seeing some old friends. Have some really good and interesting candidates in that race. I think it's a 6-way race. There is a runoff. So expected to be a 2-person runoff, which is going to be sometimes on a holiday. So that's really interesting. Is it kind of a cop out to also say Jersey City, but I'm really interested in Jersey City to see where that is. I think that the conventional wisdom is that it's McGreevy and either O'Day or Solomon. And then what are those dynamics as that goes to the runoff? I think that's pretty fascinating. And if we lump those in as one, I'll give you the one extra, which is LD21. LD21 is a district that was, I think, Harris plus 12, something like that. But it has been this Republican district for a very long time. In this day and age where you just don't have split districts anymore, how long can those Republicans continue to represent that district? And is this a cycle that Democrats break that? It's going to be fascinating.
Alex, which ones are you watching? And I'll do 2 plus a certain Bergen County legislative district. We'll give you that one as a bonus, so you don't have to use up one of yours.
That's okay. I don't really have my eye on that one. That's just of no concern to me whatsoever. I think look, the assembly races are all like, for me, like at least this like we're this like vice grip of you know like being at the mercy of the gubernatorial race, like, right, like how, like, how that goes, I think changes the fortunes for a lot of our candidates. It doesn't necessarily dictate them. I think that there are a lot of scenarios in which you could see some mixed results, like you saw in 2021. Certainly, because we've just seen it happen before. And I actually do think, to Dan's point, that the possibility of split districts, I think it actually increases maybe in this time of polarization, because like you just don't there isn't like, yes, there is this like knee-jerk reaction to just kind of like pull the lever down, but like there also is this like uh, especially when you don't have a senator at the top from one party, and you have like there is like a little bit of a in a year like this, I think that it changes the calculus just like a little bit. I agree with Dan on Jersey City, just because I used to live there, and I love watching the big like Democratic machine races in Hudson County. But I'll cheat a little bit and say that I am really interested to see the results of the New York mayoral race. And going back to our own, or to our conversation just one question ago, I think it actually is relevant to New Jersey, because like if you're me sitting here in Bergen County, I know more about what's going on in the New York City mayoral race based on the local media here and being in the New York media market than I do about any of the other races that are that are on the ballot in my state. So I think that has a huge that could potentially have a huge effect here in New Jersey. Just whether he wins or loses or whatever happens, I think that's a defining moment for national Democrats, but it could also be a huge tell in terms of what might happen statewide with New Jersey voters, because again, like that's those are the like that's the information we're getting, that's the information flow. So
well, I don't want to hold you guys any longer, because we're we're talking about none of us get any sleep tomorrow night. So we'll try and make up for it a little bit tonight. But I don't know. I don't think that's going to. I always say that it's never going to work out. But
Yeah.
Alex, Wilkes, Dan Bryan, it's always fun to talk to you. And then we'll be looking probably at an extended. I'll give you a heads up at more than 4 questions on your next stomping ground for
All right.
post-election analysis. So
Extra credit.
Yeah, best of luck to both of you. One of you is going to be happy tomorrow night. One of you isn't, but you're still going to be friends, which is which is all good.
David, it's always a pleasure. Alex, thank you so much. This was great.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.